Thank you so much for giving Least of These Carolinas 5 minutes of your time. My name is Shelley Wilburn, and I want to tell you about a little girl. A little girl, she was 9 years old, and she went into the foster care system because she had an alcoholic father and a young mom who was at her wit's end. The day this little girl came into care was just a huge, horrible day for her. Her whole world as she'd known it had ceased to exist. She was thrown into a children's home with people that she didn't know. So it was a pretty pivotal moment for her and pretty scary spending the first night alone without anyone that she knew. She was put into a children's home because at the time there wasn't enough foster homes. Just like there are today, there's not enough people willing to become foster parents to help these children. And so because of that, she was placed into a children's home and separated from her brothers and thrust into an environment with a lot of people that she didn't know. One thing that the little girl would have loved to have had was just something of her own. Since she didn't know anyone, she didn't have anything to cling to that night. So it would have been wonderful for her to have just a blanket or a teddy bear or even pajamas that she could call her own, because she didn't bring any of that with her. One of the reasons that I love Least of These, and it's such a close ministry to my heart, is their bags of hope. I know that this little girl would have loved to have had one of your bags of hope. There wasn't a Least of These or an organization like Least of These when this little girl was in care. So this is such a huge ministry to these kind of kids, because when she was there, she had nothing of her own. Just imagine how much more comfortable and how that would make her feel to have a bag given to her with her name on it, with pajamas and an animal of something that she could have slept with that night. Toothbrush, toothpaste, because she didn't have anything. I know that that would have made a huge, huge difference for her in that first night of care. When this young girl turned 16, there was a family in a local church that showed interest in allowing her to become a foster child and to move into their home and to become a part of their family. So the little girl was really excited about this. She was tired of being in the children's home and being in an institution, and one of her biggest dreams was to have a normal family. So she decided that she would move into this foster home. And it wasn't easy for her at first. This foster family took her in, and immediately she became their daughter. They introduced her as their daughter. And at first that made her feel a little uncomfortable because she had parents. I mean, she was a teenager and had a lot of baggage and a lot of guilt from being at the children's home, and so she gave them a hard time. She rejected their love. She slammed doors. She broke rules. She stayed out after curfew, but they continued to love her and continued to work through every situation with her and gave her a second chance because they knew that she just needed some guidance and some love, and so they gave her that. We have children in our communities that are growing up without knowing what it's like to be a part of a real family. We have kids in our community that need your love. They need your support. And that's what Christ calls us to do. He calls us to love the least of these. And I'm speaking so much from the heart because that little girl that I was talking about, that was me. I know from experience how much an organization like Least of These would have meant to me back then. My foster parents gave me a new life. They taught me what it is to truly love someone as Christ loves the church. Because of my foster family, I now have a beautiful family of my own. I've been married to my husband now for 20 years. I have 3 beautiful boys, ages 14, 12, and 8, and we are now raising them in the knowledge of Christ and His love for them. And that's so important for these kids to hear. If you want to make a difference today, if you want to make a difference in the life of someone, just invest in Least of These. That's the fastest and quickest way to make a difference in a kid's life. If there's one thing that I can impress on you today, I want to tell you that these kids are worth it. I was worth it. God says these kids are worth it. So I want to ask you, are they worth it to you?